Welcome back, everybody. This is session 21. It all comes crashing down, part 2. We rejoin our companions here in the middle of a pitched battle in on familiar ground, fortunately enough. Though there are new faces and a new enemy that is fighting with some vigor that you did not think was possible whatsoever. These cultists are a mixed band of troll men, corrupted Nemercians. There's a few goblins, some other shadow spawn, corrupted individuals, and trolls. There are a handful of fog giants who have thrown their lot in with the cult in some way, hopefully to gain personal power. But it's not a uniform force. There are some hobgoblin mercenaries that fight on foot against these Arborean farmers that you're trying to kind of supplement their line. And with that, the stage curtains will open to just a horrid scene of carnage. Grant, would you describe for us the scene?
Well, it is complete and bloody chaos. Um, no one can. It's hard to differentiate friend from foe. I'm sure that some Arboreans are attacking their own kind. It's muddy. It's bloody. Um, you. It is a wave of just bodies against each other. You are touching someone in some aspect. You are packed together. It is just total anarchy in a way. There's no battlefield command. It is just people just trying to slaughter everybody. And um, in the middle of it all is this Blogveer, this 10.5 foot tall ogre, but he's covered in mud and blood and gore. His sight is blurry. His eyes are stinging. He can't see his friends. He doesn't know if they've fallen. He doesn't know if they yet live. If they fight on. He can't tell. All he knows is when he looks around, he just sees death and destruction. Giants sweeping whole columns of Arboreans away in one swipe. Cultists being impaled with pitchforks and sickles being um, lobbed at people's heads. It is just anarchy in a way. Everybody is fighting for their lives because this could very well be the final battle. The cultists are attacking with a ferocity that we haven't seen yet. This is like a trump card. They're showing their hand, and they got a full house. They're coming at us with everything they have, and the Arboreans in their defense are valiantly fighting, but the odds are it's overwhelming in the cultist favor. But as of now, it is a bloodbath. Um, you don't know if the person you're striking is an enemy or a friend or foe. You just hope to the gods that your judgment was correct and you hit the right person, because not only is it dark, it's chaos. The bit of viscera in your eye could have played tricks on you. You could have just killed your best friend, your neighbor. Um, you don't know. It's very, very perilous, and hopefully the defenders can hold out. Can hold out.
Thank you, my friend. That paints us a very grim and horrid picture of the situation. Go ahead and give yourself a narrator die for hopefully the next encounter to wage your life upon. Now, Shihan, you've taken up a battle stand a nearby hill that doesn't quite look over the battlefield as it probably should. There's a handful of pine trees that you're kind of sheltering against, kind of using them as a screen. Your bow has been broken. You've slain the enemies nearest to you, and last you saw of the boy Corwin, he was kind of locked in this dog fight with uh, a burly troll man who was bearing down upon him, and fortunately enough, the boy found it in himself to repel such an enemy. Such a horror, however, you wish that you never could see. You wish that he never saw, as he is only a boy of 14 cycles, maybe 15 cycles. He may have just had a birthday, but nevertheless, he's just a boy. What do you see from your vantage point?
From that small rise, of course, I can't see too very far because of the just the general mist and such of battle, the smoke and such from possible burning in the area. The blood and the bodies seem to mingle with the mud of the river. The water itself has taken on a dark color to it from the churning of feet, and of course from the bodies floating down. I can see where the edge of the engagement is. Bodies just gently floating away, almost as if they finally found some kind of peace. Although the occasional arrow or spear or sword poking up out of the body proves that they're not necessarily resting, and occasionally one feebly attempts to move, but it's obvious their strength has fled them. Below me, I can see just a surge back and forth of different bodies. The occasional troll man head will pop up, or a Arborean, their bark-like skin will peek out from out of the mud and the gore. There's standards are impossible to even understand here at the moment, because everything is just being coated in this this muck, and of course my eyes are scanning across this heaving mass, looking for the burly form of Blogbeard, trying to find out if he's even still alive. Occasionally glancing down to the river and thinking to himself, no, he can't be dead in the water, not Blogbeard, and just frantically searching for him, and of course Corwin and anyone else I can recognize from there, and taking a few deep breaths, because I know that that surge is going to come back upon me here at any moment, and flicking the bit of growling blood off my blade to reveal a bit of a gleam of that fey iron there in the waning light of the day.
Go ahead and make an awareness test. Blogbeer will have, I suppose, hauled himself to his feet after destroying that troll's face. We hope that you can see him anyway.
So it's a 19 on an awareness test.
24 for me.
Yeah, so yeah, he's. It's not hard for you to spot Blogbeer, as he is coated with the blood of, you hope, the enemy, and not his own. And Blogbeer, you'll cast about and then see. Impossibly, however, you will indeed see the tiny form of your fey friend on an adjacent hill, just kind of scanning the battlefield.
I will raise my sword and to try to get his attention and just yell his name, like, Shion. But through the din of combat, I don't know if he'll be able to hear it. But Blogveer is going to try to reunite with his friend.
Okay. Shion will raise his sword as well, just to let him know that he sees him, and then charge down into this mass and see if he can take down a few more of these cultists from his perspective, or see if actually he's going to look and see if there's a better way to get around the back. Can he get into the back ranks of these cultists possibly and cause some havoc?
You would have to cross down into the river and go through it to find their back half. Sometime, you don't know when or how, but the bridge that is nearby has been destroyed on the cultist side.
Okay. Well, since I don't swim very well, and I gave away my my trinket from the Pike Lord, I'm not going to swim across that or attempt to. So we'll just, I guess, try to carve a path toward Blogbeer.
All right, so go ahead and roll me a d8. Tell me how many people you slay this turn, and describe for us how you get there. Is Blogbeer going to do the same? I'm assuming.
Yes, he is.
Do I reroll 8s?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. He is going to mow down a dozen people on this.
Fantastic. Go ahead and describe for us how you push and shove and cut your way through these horrible cultists.
So Shihan looks down at this surging mass just a few feet away from him, and from his vantage point, he's able to actually just leap out over the massive lines with his sword coming down. He takes off one guy's arm as he comes down with the blade, snatching up that fellow's spear, and he impales the next guy with that spear as he hacks off another limb with his sword. He's not even sure what whose it was, and he just at that point just starts kicking bodies back, causing some guys to become impaled on their weapons of their fellows behind them. He blocks one swing down from above and comes across, opening a man's throat. And becomes basically just a whirling dervish, and he winds up after a moment having just, as I said, a dozen bodies scattered about him, giving himself just a bit of breathing room to launch his next attack.
And go for Blogbeer here.
Blogbeer only manages to kill one person as he makes his way to Shihan. As he cuts a trollman in half, he raises his blade to dispatch more, but he loses his footing, and seeing the opportunity, some cultists rush at him and try to just dogpile him. They don't bring him to the ground, but they do stop him from attacking any more people as he's throwing them off of him and trying to regain his footing.
A few moments later here, Shihan will be upon you to help relieve you of this unwanted weight. You, Blogveer, you catch out of the corner of your eye the thank the gods, a familiar sight of the visage of Warwick the Wild, and he. The one thing you do see in the gloom and the mud is he takes the head of a mortal man, a Nemercian, who has fallen to the cult here, and he just brings his forehead down on this poor human's nose with this great thud, and as it just destroys his face, and he drops this human back into the muddy river as he disappears, with not wasting any time or energy. He takes up his Fey Iron war sword, and he shouts something to you, but that's when a mace will come down at your face and deal a whopping 3 damage to you, as Shihan is now upon you to attack these cultists, dogpiling your companion here.
As I approach this dog pile, of course I'm going to leave with this commandeered spear that I picked up with in my right hand with my sword in my left. See, the Shihan's lefty is all true Fey are. And he'll let out his piercing banshee scream of a battle cry. Hopefully, at least unnerving a few of those who have dove upon my ogre friend and making them think something horrible is coming from behind, because it is. Shall I roll how many I take down, or?
You can make a standard attack.
All right. Let's see. That's a 15 on the spear. And then,
that's gonna hit. Yeah.
Okay. And on the sword. Wait a minute. Another freaking. Okay.
Get him. Fuck him up.
With the sword, it is going to be a 28.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's done. Go ahead and roll. Roll me a d8. You're gonna take down at least 2 of these guys.
Okay. He attacked very, very well, but his damage wasn't very high. With the spear, he has a total of 3, and with the sword, he has a total of 6. I rolled ones.
Oh wow! Okay. Minimum damage. All right.
Yes.
Even with minimum damage, you are able to cut the legs out from under a goblin who is trying to force his thumbs into Blogveer's eyes, and the other cultist that is attempting to pull him down via his cave bear cape. You caught him in the hip in just such a fashion where if he survives this sidebar, he will never walk again. But you the two of you do stand face to face in the middle of this horrible blood-caked battlefield. The slow-moving river is about thigh high on Shihan, and that's probably about calf high on Blogveer.
Look at Blogveer and Blogveer. Do you remember how we got here?
It does not matter now, friend. Now we have to take as many of them down with us as we can.
Very true. I'll turn side to side with Blogveer and let out that banshee wail again and charge forward side by side with my companion.
Yeah.
Here we will re-enter narrative combat. So go ahead and roll me a d8 for both of you, and you can describe for us how and how many you butcher this round.
So Blogveer cuts down 6 of them. 3 of them, 3 goblins, he will strike down with one swipe from his trollbane, his big bronze sword. He will slice them diagonally. All 3 of them one swipe. They'll their bodies will just fall to the ground. So the last one didn't quite make a clean swipe, so he's cut in half, only halfway. So he's leaning him back. His blood is gushing. His guts are hanging out, but his torso is still attached to his body, and he falls down on top of one of his friends, and gives him quite the fright as they see this giant ogre just cutting them down. And then as he gazes up with his friend's torso in his arms, he gazes up just in time to be decapitated, and his head will fly hit his friend in the head. His friend will turn, and then this friend will turn and be impaled. And then, as he is impaled, still on Blogbeer's sword, he'll come crashing down and swipe another one clean in half. And then, as he throws off the body from his sword, he'll eyeball one more of the cultist sitting there, a Mercian, just looking at him, fear in his eye. But he charges at Blogbeer just to be met with that incredibly sharp blade straight through his head, right through his eye. The sword being so massive, it damn near cuts his head in twain. And it pulls the sword out, his eyes and his brain matter, his gray matter everywhere. And Blogbeer will flick the gore off of his sword and stand ready for the retaliation.
And to Shihan.
As Blogbeer is swinging on these other fellows, a group of 4 charges his flank, and not noticing the smaller figure of Shihan there, Shihan raises his spear and thrusts out, catching the second person in the group in the throat as he ducks a swing from the lead attacker and rams his sword into that fellow's gut, ripping it outward, him falling to the ground. He then whips the spear around, catching one fellow in the back of his helm, knocking him face first down into the water, where he's stepped on by Blogbeer as he's swinging. And his sword, as Shihan spins around, takes the last fellow's legs out from under him, and he splashes into the water as well, with his screaming face drowning out his last breaths as he's screaming in pain. Only got 4, so
4 is plenty at this time. There's plenty more to be had. You both, as well as the Arborean farmers who live in this section of their highlands, you fight all day and late into the evening until it is hard to see those in front of you. And for whatever reason, the cultists just they keep coming. You are close to exhaustion by dawn that next day, as you're both bleeding from multiple wounds. You have been brought nearly to the quick, as thankfully the king arrives, the High King of Arborea. He is announced by the groan and the trumpeting of mammoths. Mammoths clad in bronze armor to be formed into massive woolen platforms for ballistas mounted on their backs. They have 3 handlers each atop one of these great beasts, and still these cultists just refuse to quit. Fuck you guys. You're finally reinforced as Fulgurith, the young king of Arborea, arrives near you in the saddle of one of the great beasts you've come to know as a Keithong, the male form of a griffin that does not have wings, but a row of spikes on either side of its shoulders. You're given a few moments reprieve as the elite guard, I suppose this would be like William the Conqueror's Huskarls, come to your aid as you're standing behind a wall of bronze shields, mail, and breastplates. And again, there's a calm The battle isn't over, but there's a calm for you. What do you do here?
Breathe. Shihan just begins taking big gulping gasps of air as he's not having to swing a blade the moment his shoulders are aflame. Every muscle in his body just feels like it's been beaten with well, beaten like a rug in the early days of spring to get all the dust and dirt out of it. He just feels just over, beyond exhausted at this moment. So it looks like the log beard just flops down in a sitting position and just breathes.
Blogveer is too exhausted to sweat at this point.
Blogveer instinctively is still at battle ready, but when he sees the guard come to relieve them, he drops his sword, barely holding on to the hilt as the blade is in the mud, and he will collapse to one knee, and he will also begin panting and breathing heavily. He doesn't know where he's wounded, but he knows that his body is beaten and it is near breaking point. He doesn't know if this blood is his, if it's the enemy's. His armor is indistinguishable by the mud and the gore that's on him. It is battered. It is beaten. It has been pierced in numerous places, but it still holds. And Blogbeer just looks at the mud, and the mixture of the blood and gore drips from his hair and his beard as he sees his reflection in the muddied water that mixed with the blood and chunks of Nemercian and Arborean just in this puddle. He just looks back at his reflection, breathing heavily, and just takes this time to center himself and try to muster up his second wind, his reserve of energy. He feels as though every muscle in his arms and his legs have been torn asunder and trampled by herds of mammoths, and then by some miracle pieced, stitched back together and thrown upon his skeleton. His whole body is screaming for him to just give up and just go to the land of Morphe. Morphe is just sleep. His body is just demanding that he take respite, but he can't. And he'll just look at his friend, just breathe heavily, and just not say a word. Just looking at Shihan and observing these elite guards in all their glory.
Seeing Blogbeard looking down at him, Shihan will look up and gather a last bit of reserve and say, "We have to pull back."
I don't know if these fancy guards will be enough.
Nonetheless, we need to pull back. And he struggles to his feet using the spear haft to lever himself up and begins to slowly trudge away from the front of the battle, hopefully to find some place where he can at least breathe for a moment and get a lay of the land and see what's at least what else is coming. So,
with a quick survey, you find yourselves on the cultist side of the river, somewhere in the chaos of it all. You've pushed them back. You are now on the green of the it's that pathway, that rocky winding pathway that kind of snakes its way into the Suncrest Valley to the south. You're quite familiar with this path, but it's quite different now, as it's caked with blood and it's littered with bodies now. But as you haven't hauled yourself to your feet yet, but as you are doing so, the boy kind of trudges up behind you to stand between the two of you. His shield is gone. What's left of his sword that was made for his size, like the top third, has shattered away, and you assume it's Corwin. It's the same size, but under all of that mud, sweat, and blood, you're not sure if it's him. And he looks down at Shihan, just with this long 1,000-yard stare in his eyes, and it's almost like he's waiting for you to say something, but you're about to, and his lip starts to quiver, and the poor kid just breaks down right there and starts crying. He's an Arborean child, so he very much tries to keep it in, but he's put up a glorious, valiant effort, but it's time to let it out.
I'll lever myself up, put my hand on the boy's shoulder, and just say, "Come on," and just start trudging up the hill, up into the the pathway, away from the main force of the battle, looking for a place where I can at least, for a bit, hide him, so that he can get his passion out and won't be caught with his eyes blurry with tears by the cultist looking for an opportunity.
Where is Blogveer when this is happening?
Blogveer, he'll get up and he'll follow Shihan, but he'll be lagging behind because his body's not wanting to cooperate, so it's taking him a while to get back onto his feet. But he is following his companion.
Make me a wilderness lore test, quick. Like I need Shihan for a quick. See if that ranger skill finds us a place to hide.
$29.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty damn close to 30. So
Yep.
you can describe for us where you guys speared him away to. It's pretty rocky. It's pretty hilly here. There's plenty of pines and fir trees. Take us away.
Yeah, Shihan recalls when he came through here last, there was a hidden little, almost like it's not quite a cave, it's more like a grotto off to one side, but unless you're right on top of it, you won't see it. And he leads the boy up between a pair of the larger rocks off to one side of the path and down into this little grotto. And we raise Blogbeer and such down and looks around, and he cuts a small bush right at the base and moves it over and sits it right in front of that little cleft there, so that anyone walking by will see it as just being a bush growing between two rocks. And he settles down for a moment once he gets inside to wipe the mud and the muck from his face. And he feebly tries to do the same to the boy. He's, of course, is now runnels of clean down his cheeks, for his tears have fallen down and washed away the muck and the mud. Makes Corbin look even younger than his actual years are.
Corwin lets out a kind of like a choking sigh as he sits down on a boulder, and he places his bronze sword across his knees, and he kind of like folds his arms on the flat of the blade and just rests his head down in his hands, and you see his shoulders kind of give and bounce a little bit as he's just letting it out. He gives himself a few minutes. He sighs again and he goes, "For fuck's sakes, why? he lets off a very poetic stream of profanity that should not be coming out of a boy's face, but due to the circumstance, you kind of let him do it, uh, and ever the clever kid. He points to Blogveer, who's now ducking into the grotto. You got to duck almost all the way down 90-degree angle to get in here, but um, surprisingly, it opens up nicely. You find a place to finally sit down and stow that troll-sized sword off behind you in a longer portion of the cave. And Corwin says, "You have blood on you." And he gives you a grim smirk again that should not be on a boy's face.
Blogveer will just start laughing. He'll just start chuckling, and then eventually he'll go into a roaring laughter. He can't control himself. He's so exhausted, and he knows that he's supposed to be hidden in here, but he can't help but laugh from just the sheer exhaustion and the circumstances that they find themselves in. He just laughs, and he will reach for his wine skin, which has been pierced, and there's only a few swallows of the blood wine left, and he'll take a swig and he'll pass it to Corwin. Here, you've more than earned it.
If you let him, Corwin will drink the rest of it. So he's yeah.
It has been pierced multiple times, so the once full wineskin barely has a couple of swallows left in it. So,
are these ogre swallows or
a little bit of swallows for an ogre? So yeah, he'll probably drown himself if he tries to drink all of it.
Corwin won't drown himself, but he will drink a surprising amount of it, and then give it over to Shihan. Does Shihan actually take the blood wine?
Shihan looks at it and she shakes his head because at this point he is so thirsty. He'll drink just about anything, and he tips it up and pours something into his mouth and gulps a bit down, but doesn't. I mean, it's definitely not an ogre-sized swig. He'll sputter a little bit and say, "Oh gods, that's actually worse than I thought."
It is honey, blood. Surprisingly, that sweetness from the honey goes well with that iron taste of the blood. As you finish sputtering, you hear Hawk from outside, and he's just yelling into the trees, "Shihan! Blogveer!" There's no small amount of exhaustion in his voice, and of course, Corwin startles and up. He takes up his sword, and he about falls the fuck over into the gravel.
Okay,
Exhaustion.
Shihan will look up and duck out from the side and Hawk here and wave at him and move the bush aside and grab him and pull him into the grotto past himself, and then puts the bush back, hopefully making sure no one else sees that.
Hawk is down the hill from you, but he does cast about quick like. You do see him as you're moving the bush out of the way. He actually just whips one of those hand axes off in some direction, and you hear like this wet ka-thunk and a yelp off in the distance as he tears off into the underbrush and disappears into the grotto.
Okay.
He sits there. They're fighting in the battle. I suspect that there's going to be small skirmishes for at least for the next chain. Well, the king is here, so he's quite literally going to assume. I assume he's going to try and end this.
Fastest way to end this is to lop the head off. I mean, Shihan takes a couple deep breaths of her Blogbeer, spits on the ground because that taste just will not go away. And he says, "We need to find Endukagga."
We do not even know if he's on the battlefield.
Oh, I'm sure he wouldn't miss this.
Hawk will smile and say, "Oh, we're celebrating already. Ah, I see." He takes the wine, and again, an ogre swig for an Arborean is an impressive thing, as he almost bathes in it. He finally looks down at Corwin. He goes, "Well, hello, lad." He offers a kind of a shoulder to elbow embrace to the boy. He goes, "My name's Hawk. I'm one of your boys here. I'm one of their companions." And there's still Corwin's not sure about this newcomer, but he he takes the wrist anyway. "Drinking with the men, I see. He started early, huh?" And he sits down on a boulder next to next to Corwin, where Corwin was sitting.
Anyone who walked out of that alive is a man in my eyes, Shihan says. He deserves it. He earned it.
Yeah, I would agree. Good on you, lad. But it looks like mind your ear, and he kind of reaches over and pokes Corwin's ear, and he's actually got the top third of his pointed ears actually missing. Like he fucking lost part of his ear sometime in the last 18 hours, and he's just ah. That's where most of this blood's coming from.
And with that, it reminds Shihan, oh, yes, my companion's back should be injured. So he starts looking at himself, seeing if he has any of his bandages and whatnot, and tries to start looking at Blogbeer and see if he can possibly patch him up a little bit. See where his injuries actually are and how bad they are, because we want him to bleed out on me sitting there.
The three of you have serious wounds that need to be tended to. You are indeed bleeding. Corwin has a moderate wound, not including his part of his missing ear.
Okay. I'll start ripping pieces off of my my tunic and such to improvise bandages and whatnot, just to get that bleeding stopped. So, and
Blogbeer had a handful of poultices from quite a few sessions ago. Grant, go ahead and roll me a provisioning test, quick like. It doesn't matter if you don't have ranks in it. I want to see if you actually still have those or if you've lost them in the battle somewhere.
That is an 8.
You have one remaining, so one of those wounds, or one of you can actually stabilize.
Well, I'll rummage through the blood-caked and mud and caked small satchel that I have under my bear cloak, and I'll rummage through, and I'll pull out. Well, I'll pull out broken, container of the other ones and throw it on the ground. Oh, and I'll reach in and I'll find one caked in blood, and this one is still good, and I'll set it in between everybody. I only have the one.
I'll begin checking and see who's the worst off at the moment of the four of us. So that's going to be that's going to be a 20 on apothecary check. Which one is the worst off?
That would be you, my man.
Oh, okay.
You are at about 4 vitality left. You're pretty fucking winded.
Okay, but am I going to? Am I actually bleeding to the point where I'm going to get worse? That's the question.
Yeah, with a serious wound, yeah.
Okay.
You will die in about well, you'll bleed to death in. Let me I want to make sure that I do this right for you with a serious wound. Yes, you will expire in 12 combat rounds.
Okay, so pretty darn quick. Okay.
And within the next 10 minutes, really.
Okay. As I said, I'm going through looking at everybody's, and I suddenly grab my side and lift up my tunic, and I have a nice, wonderfully leaking wound on my side that blood's actually pumping out of, and I sit back and I look down and I say, I think I need some help. And
now the pain starts to come back. Oh, ow. Oh, okay. Now, as you're coming down off the adrenaline high.
Yeah. And he reaches for the poultice and takes a bandage and presses it to the wound and waves Corwin over. And he says, "Here, hold this tight." And
he will do so. He'll kind of lean what he can harness as his body weight on it as you wrap it.
Shihan winces and he takes the poultice and he runs his hand underneath it and rubs it along the wound and such to coat it really good. And he says, "I'm sorry to take this from you fellas, but I don't know if I'll make it very much longer if I don't."
There's no need to apologize, friend. It's there for anyone, and we're all beat to hell.
Shihan's vision starts to get a bit blurry and such as the pain really hits him, and he looks over at Blogveer and Hawk and looks at this kid, and so he says, "Thank you for helping me." He says, "If I don't make it through this," and he reaches over to his sword and he presses it into Corwin's chest and says, "You need to take this and you need to use it well."
He won't say anything, but he'll nod. I hope I don't have to.
I've always had a feeling that this thing was destined for your hand anyway. I don't know why.
Well, Hawk will go into his pack and he'll pull out another poultice and he'll treat Blogveer for his wounds with a. Well, hang on. Yep. Okay. With an 18, he'll treat your serious wounds, so you will no longer be bleeding. Hawk will he'll stop his own bleeding, but he'll need more care. He'll actually reduce it to a minor wound, so he's got about 6.5 hours left before he actually bleeds out.
What vitality is Blogveer at?
You would be at 5 vitality then.
All right. Well, now that we're done licking our wounds, so to speak, we need to make a battle plan. If this Endukagga is there, he's going to be deeper behind enemy lines, more likely. And we're in no position to be traipsing behind enemy lines searching for the leader.
No, we're not. We should definitely hold up here and at least through the night, and then maybe at least wait till dawn to see, at least get an idea of the lay of the land and what the battle lines finally fall down to. And then he sort of leans back and says, "I wouldn't hurt my feelings at all for us to wait until nightfall once again and then steal into the camp and raise the dead, as they say." He laughs a little bit, coughs, and holds his side.
A foul familiarity comes to Shihan's mind as his broken leg from before, which is nearly to its healing point, um, starts giving you a searing pain. You took some time, yes, but after the past 12 to 18 hours worth of vigorous activity, you may or may not have messed up some form of the healing process.
Yeah, he just looks down and says, "Damn leg," and stretches it out a bit to hopefully get a little bit of and works his ankle a bit to get a little circulation into it, and just grits his teeth. I don't think this thing's ever going to heal properly, but we definitely need some rest. I can't move very far. Um, we should maybe even attempt to get hooked up with the king's people, if nothing else. Maybe they have better healers than us. They can possibly get us, I guess, in better condition. As you said, Blogger, it probably wouldn't be the smartest thing for us to go wandering around wounded like this and behind the enemy lines. It'd be easy prey. And he looks over at Corwin. He says, and I'm not sure all of us need to be back here at the moment.
And Corwin looks up and says, I believe I saw my mother's banner sometime the day before. She's a shield maiden. I'm pretty sure I saw her there.
I do hope she still stands. That's one powerful lady. Maybe we should wait till about dawn, get a bit of rest, and then in the early dawn light, try to make it back to the Arborean lines. I should be able to move by then.
Corwin goes ahead and busies himself setting up a fire for you guys.
I will instruct him in how to make a proper Fairfolk stealth fire.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. So let's just lower.
You can teach him, which will give him a +2, but he'll be the one rolling that.
Okay, I can give him a +2 because I would have, with what I rolled, I can do it. So.
Yeah, he'll go ahead and build the fire.
Okay.
Surprisingly, the boy is actually quite skilled.
Excellent. I'll give him praise for his excellent job and lay back and let the heat warm my body and hopefully soothe away some of the aches and pains.
Hawk will pick a boulder by the door, and he'll light up a pipe and continue smoking as he's watching kind of like the hill beneath you guys through this bush. He's trying very hard to conceal his smoke so you guys are not discovered prematurely.
Blogveer just doesn't fight anymore, and he just succumbs to the exhaustion and drifts off and into sleep, not even moving. He's right where he stands, where he sits. He's gone. He's out.
I'm sure the warmth of that fire seeping into my bones will start putting a bit of lethargy on Shihan too, and he won't be able to fight it for very long himself, and he'll be out.
Fair enough. Corwin will kind of lean up against a boulder, and the boy too will indeed pass out. And the last thing that Shihan will hear is Hawk. He will start to softly, not sing, but kind of mutter, sing a tune. And again, You sense there's no small amount of sorcery in that tune about a fey maiden marrying a king of a foreign nation and finding out that they are unable to conceive children together, which turns out to be rather morose and somewhat of a tragic love story, but that's the last thing that you hear. From the dreamscape, we will have soliloquies. Grant, if you'd take us away.
As Blogbeard drifts off, he finds himself once again at that cottage, sitting out in a chair overlooking the farmlands and the distant village down the hill. He will see his children playing with sticks in a mock fight, um, while the girl, the small ogre girl, she is over there picking flowers while the boys horseplay around, and he will just smile and laugh and give them pointers and tell them, "Oh no, you got a pirouette here," and "Oh, he's got you here," and he'll light up a pipe and just bask in the warm sun as it comes down, and up the uh, up the hill on the road, he'll see Kaya with a basket full of supplies from the village, and she'll go and she'll kneel down next to the small ogre girl, and she'll smile at her and pick up a flower and place it in her hair behind her ear, and she will get up and continue walking, and Blogveer will just smile at her as she approaches, and she'll sit down the basket, and she'll lean in and give him a kiss on his cheek, and he will hold her hand and rub it and give her a warm smile, and they will discuss how her day went and how the market was, and uh, everything is right in the world. And then the clouds come in, dark clouds. Before Blogveer has a chance to recall the children, a fierce storm happens, almost a hurricane, blowing trees, bending to near their breaking point, and then in the distance, war horns will sound and shouts will come from the village, and Blogveer will raise from his chair to see fire and smoke down from the village. And just as he reaches to grab his club, which is propped up against the cottage wall, he will turn around to see Kaya staring at him, eyes wide, with blood trickling down her mouth as an arrow pierces her chest. He'll grasp at her, eyes wide, as she begins to fall, and he'll catch her in his arms as he looks up, and he sees these cultists, these trolls, and even giants are emerging from the trees, slaughtering villagers who don't have a chance to defend themselves. They grab for their pitchforks and their spades, but they can't reach them in time as they're cut down. And he'll hear his children screaming for their father as the boys try to get to their sister, but she is trampled by a menagerie of horses, and on the lead horse, the one who crushes the little ogre girl's skull beneath his hoof is Endukagga, the cult leader, and he spits orders at his troll henchmen as they grab up the boys and throw sacks over their heads and begin to tie them to their horse. And he points at me with his gnarled finger and says some words that Blogbeer he can't understand. He everything is in slow motion to him. Kaya is dying in his arms, and all he can do is watch her reach for his face as she goes limp in his arms. And in a rage, he will lay her body down and attempt to fight these invaders. But as he does, 3 giants will come. One will smack him deftly, sending him flying through the cottage wall. And as he raises to his feet, another will crush him beneath his giant foot as his 2 comrades loom over Blogveer and grab each of his arms and rip his arms from his body. And as consciousness fades from Blogveer, the last thing he sees is an ogre reaching down for his head and just grasping his face in darkness. And then the last thing he hears is the maniacal laughter of Endukagga and the screams of his children.
What does Shihan dream of in these quiet moments?
Shihan finds himself in the battlefield again, surrounded by faceless enemies on all sides. His sword swinging, and though he cleaves flesh as one drops, another just appears right in its place, and it seems as if he's just constantly just swinging and cutting one down and cutting another down. His arm is inflamed, his leg is throbbing, and then he catches a scent on the air. It's a breeze blows in, bringing that smell of just green that you get in the summer blowing across, ripe rye growing in the fields. The ground itself under his feet becomes more solid, and as he steps, the scent of fresh turned earth just fills his nostrils, and he gets a little bit of energy back from that and begins his reaping. And with that, he begins to realize that this is a great reaping as one would do for a harvest, but it's a harvest of blood, a harvest of souls, if one would think of it that way. And he sees in the distance on a hill the figure of Endukagga directing this harvest and laughing as before him kneels the Reaper King. And he's reaching down with a collar to place it around his neck, a slave collar. And as he's beginning to close the latch, Shihan hears a familiar voice over his shoulder, one that carries the cold of the underworld, a voice of a certain ghost they had encountered at one time before going into the tomb. The whisper in his ear says, "You must not fail." And he redoubles his efforts and starts slowly moving towards the figure on the hill with that. But it seems as if no matter how fast he goes, he just doesn't make any kind of headway towards it as he sees this collar slowly closing to the ringing laughter of a Endukagga.
Somewhere in the darkness of Blogveer's dreamscape, a bark carved mask with sunken eye holes, blacker than a patch of midnight that's never been cleared away by the dawn. It just forms out of the black void of the land of Morpheus. This mask utters to him with this hideous rasping. The only thing that can make that sound is a scarecrow. It sounds like fingernails and pine needles rasping against the autumn ground and the bark of a birch tree. There is a clawed hand that comes out of this darkness, and you can only assume that it's attached to this mask. As it scoops up the image of Kea and Blogvir's children, there's, from some impossible place, there is more light here. And Blogvir's eyes come upon the Reaper King, this 18-foot tall scarecrow made of wicker and gnarled wood, with clawed hands and this hideous carved mask, and it's equal parts nightmare skeleton and scarecrow, clad in furs that are rotted and jute cloth that you'd only find in autumn festivals in mortal lands. But the Reaper King scoops up these people, the 3 children and Kea, and this hideous, horrible giant, to your miraculous eyes, it holds them close, almost as if it's embracing them in a way. And then it rasps something in the unseelie tongue, something impossible. It's almost a cooing or a purring. But nevertheless, it's saying something comforting and holding all 4 of these entities almost like if they were babies. This thing lumbers off into the realm of the unseelie, leaving Blogvir alone on this hillside. This hillside is covered with this silver wheat that you've only heard of in daydreams, that the wheat of the afterlife. The sentence forms on your lips, am I dead? But you awaken to the sound of battle ringing outside of the grotto. Your eyes flutter open as you see Hawk with his hand on Shihan's shoulder. It is some time after sunset. You have no idea what time it is, but there's a fearful look on the boy's face. What does he do?
Blogvir will attempt to wipe the sleep from his eyes, and he will attempt to get up from his sitting position he's been in this whole time, but his body is not wanting to cooperate. It wants to stay in this comatose state. It wants to rest more, but he fights through the aching and the groaning and the resistance of his body, and he will lumber forward, and he will what is going on? How long were we sleeping?
You slept most of the day. It's several hours after dusk. There is battle outside on the path as he violently shakes Shihan. Wake up, man!
Shihan groggily comes awake. His every ache and pain in his body just bursting to life in him, as he groans and opens his eyes and sits up, taking a deep breath, shaking his head, which just seems to cause things to hurt more. He looks up and says, I heard you say battle?
Yes, Outside on the path. He points outside the grotto.
He'll
They've not
shrivel
spotted us.
Shihan will reach over and grab his spear and make sure it's at hand. He'll position himself to run anyone through who comes through that gap. He says, I don't know. Are we in any kind of condition to even attempt to? Well, I don't know. Let's see what's going on out there.
As the two of you, Blogveer still hauling himself to his feet, Hawk and Shihan peer out past this bush as to see kind of a squad of these Huskarls brutally gut about 20 of these cultists in a small skirmish. They are efficient and deadly and brutal. And they take no prisoners. They are done. These men and women are exhausted, and they are absolutely sick and tired of mortals at this point. One of them, with a long hafted axe, cleaves the head from a hobgoblin, and then just with all the frustration that he can muster, boots this head almost like a soccer ball during World Cup, and it flies through the fir trees and the pine boughs, and just you hear this bronze ka-thunk clang somewhere off in the distance, and he just spits blood and saliva down into the pine needles and the mud. You see the pine needles in the dirt as they begin setting up what looks to be a barricade here. That's all you can see at this time.
Okay. In that case, seeing that they're allies, I motioned to Hawk and very slowly move aside the bush and come out. Friend, we're friends. So I say in Fairwise.
They don't hear you. You are out of earshot and up on the hill above them.
Oh, okay. So they're putting up a barrier between us and them, basically.
Yeah. Well, you and the cultists, really.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I motion back to Blogveer and the other two and say, it's the king's guard. They're setting up a barrier. Let's get out of here. He rips his side and uses the spear as sort of a crutch in a way to make his way out and support it.
Good man. Blogveer, did he have anything that he needed to bring with him, or
he just grabs Trollbane and he will follow. All he had was his sword at this point, and he will gather his sword and he will follow Shihan.
Your small troop comes down the hill, as I suppose as gently and gingerly as your woundedness can allow you to travel, and those high guards just look at you with this wary look in their eye. They're about as winded as you, but not nearly as heavily damaged. And one of the shield maidens, she doesn't say a fucking thing to you. She just points through the barricade and back across the river.
Nod to her and limp my way that way.
Corwin stops to stand in front of the shield maiden, and he says something in the Arborean language to her, and she replies, and she takes a knee and places her gauntleted hand kind of behind Corwin's head, kind of like cradling it there ever so slightly, and with her thumb, she kind of wipes some dirt uh, from his face, and she rests her forehead on Corwin's, and it's at this time you see that these two they look very similar, and she gives him a hug and then sends him on his way with the rest of you. But one of the captains there, another shield maiden, stops your troop and she recognizes Corwin, and she stands in front of Blogveer almost threateningly, and says she's looking at Blogveer, but speaking to Corwin. Are these fellows safe to travel with, Corwin? In Feywise, and he replies, "Yes, they're friends." And if you're sure, the boy nods, and she'll stand out. She'll step out of Blogveer's way, but she gives him a look that can level a giant. Ooh.
Blogveer is too exhausted to even. He has this "I'm over every fucking thing" look on his face. So he's exhausted. He's tired. He doesn't. He might even give her a grunt or something in recognition of her, her attitude. But he can't be bothered. He can't. He doesn't have the strength. He'll just drag himself and lumber behind Shihan. He can't.
Shihan just says in Feywise in his sort of a breathy voice, because that's about as best as he can muster, but with just a little bit of pride backing in. And he says, that standing before you is Blogbeard Trollsbane. He is probably one of the safest beings for that boy to be with right now.
And she shoots Shihan a dirty look and says, "Trollbane, huh? That's not impressive."
And I am Shihan the Red Blade, Giant Killer. The boy's safe with us.
If anything, any harm comes to him, I will sacrifice both your heads to Lekra. Mark my words, I will find you, and I will kill you, and I will find your families, and I will kill them as well.
Shihan he can't hold it back. He bursts out with a full-on belly laugh. And he says, "Shield Maiden, I believe you could do this. And you doing so would be sung about from now until the days that the sun dies and the earth gives up its last." He's thinking about the woman he is betrothed to at the moment.
She just stares at him. After a long moment, she just says, "March."
Shivan will start his pathetic little march, leaning on his spear, just occasionally letting out a bit of a chuckle.
Blogveer is just dragging his massive form. He's barely keeping his sword tip off the ground as he's holding by the hilt at his side. He's exhausted. He's over everything. He's over everything. Part of him just wishes she would just go ahead and kill him so that he could be done with this. He's so exhausted.
Death and stopping the pain right now is much more desirable than continuing to suffer. But you guys get to the bridge, and Corwin looks up at Shihan. She goes, "I'm sorry about that."
It's of no mind. She's just being protective, making sure that you're safe. And he reaches out and clutches his shoulder and says, "Let's get you back to your people."
The first one, that's my older sister Skirga. She said that my mother, our mother, is with the king across the river, and he points back. So once they finish the barricade, she'll tell our mother where I am, and the other one. Well, that was Captain Thorhild. She is very strict, and he just looks at the ground and like, yeah, he may or may not have had a severely deadly beating from her from being disobedient a handful of times.
Jihan musters up enough to speak once again through the exertion of just walking now. He says, strong women are always a good thing to have around, lad. They teach you how to respect women, and trust me, you don't want to go through life without that. Too many women can cut a man down before he can move, and especially among your kind.
He
Yes.
just kind of gives you this wide-eyed nod. You're like, oh yeah, yeah.
Yes, let's make our way there. Shihan speeds up just a little bit.
You find yourselves back in the village about 40 minutes later after a long, exhausting, terrible walk. And you can collapse near a campfire, and there's an abundance of bronze in this village. Oh, wonder why? Yeah, of course. But Warwick is nowhere to be seen. But there's plenty of people, soldiers around.
I'll call out to one and have him lead us to the well. First off, lead us to the healers. I
He just
motion
points.
head that way then.
Evidently, they're actually using part of this village as a stable to keep their mammoths. You see a team of troopers kind of dismounting a ballista from the back of one of these great beasts. And once they're actually able to get this platform, this saddle, and the barding off, the mammoth is allowed to walk around and do whatever it really it wishes. Thankfully, you guys don't get stepped on when you get to what they've kind of set up as a hospital tent. They spend much of the evening, however, tending to your wounds and making you comfortable. There's plenty of ale to be had to get you well and drunk and to relieve the pain.
First thing Shihan is looking for is some place to get cleaned off. To wash this grime and such from his body, and really look at his wounds and see how bad he actually is off.
There is a wash basin available to everyone. Hawk and Blogveer will come to know and be very happy to know that Veer is here to ply his craft of healing, as well as he may or may not be applying some form of holy retribution on the weapons of the fresh troopers to be put out into the field. Sidebar, he might actually be poisoning some arrows.
Blogveer sees him, and it lights him up, but at the same time, the crippling grip of hunger in his stomach is telling him that his first priority needs to be food. Food. This is red ogre needs food badly. So Blogveer is going to try to find food. He's going to try to find enough ale to not get himself comatose drunk, but enough to make him feel good. But he needs to fill his belly.
Veer, thankful to all the gods. He blasphemes for a moment, and he thanks all of the gods, not just Carnage, for yours and Hawk's safe return. Is that impressive yet elderly, decrepit ogre comes over, and he kisses the cheeks of both of you, and he kind of brings you both into this big old man grandpa ogre hug, and he points one of his bony gnarled fingers over here. Go sit over here, boys. I will bring you something. And he's almost pushing you in that direction to
Blogbeard doesn't take much fucking coercion. He's going to sit down. His feet are his dogs are barking. He's exhausted, so he goes over there and he sits down. Blogbeard doesn't normally like being taken care of, and shit. He's the one, taking care of himself. But at this point, he'll be pampered. He will sit there, prop his fucking feet up, and people can feed him for all he fucking cares. At this point, he's beyond exhausted. So.
Mark it on your calendar. Blogbeard will allow himself to be serviced in a fashion.
Shihan will be, once he sits down and gets a little water on him to wash off some of the grime and such, and runs his hands across his stubble on his bare head behind his horns. He'll notice the sound of his stomach rumbling as well, as it's trying to apparently eat through his back. And he'll look up and sniff the air, the possible smell of food nearby.
They are roasting a boar on the fire about 20 feet away from you. So, your stomach is trying to do the starfish thing of escape your torso to get out to the boar. But there's about 40 troopers in line with wooden bowls, and there is an ogre woman, not she is not unattractive, but and she's carving off ogre-sized steaks off of this boar and then cutting them in half to make them Arborean-sized to place them in each of these bowls. Seeing an ogre woman, quite beautiful and attractive, like Kea, it may or may not send some stings into Blogfear's heart, and maybe some small amount of worry.
Well, it does that, but it also sends a bunch of regret. He should have taken Kea into the tent before he left and gave her the bedding of a lifetime. He should have professed all of his love, and ogre custom be damned. He didn't know if he'd ever see her again. He regrets not shaking the earth with their ogre lovemaking, and may or may not planting a seed to grow in her garden. So he regrets a lot of things, and seeing this ogre woman just amplifies his regret. And he doesn't have a lot of time to think on it, though, because his stomach is literally eating every organ in his body. So he's just eagerly waiting any sort of food. He will take gruel. He will take rotten grain with some water, and he don't care. He's starving.
Hawk takes off his sandals, and the deer and elk furs that were wrapped around his feet and his calves there. He just throws them in the dirt with this "fuck this place" and "fuck these cultists" with each throw of his shoes, and he starts rubbing the bottom of each of these shoes, and he kind of elbows Blogveer hard in the bicep there. I get us some food when I'm done with these fucking feet.
Blogveer just, without even hardly moving his neck from just the sheer stiffness and just soreness, he just looks at him, and his eyes are half open from exhaustion, sleep exhaustion, deprivation. Even though he did sleep, he's still so exhausted, but also just physically drained. And he'll just nod to him and kind of just survey the camp and just see this. See what this war has taken its toll. He sees the troopers in line for food. He can hear the groans from the medical tent. He just looks around and just see how this village has turned from a thriving, prosperous village to a war-torn command center with the mammoths being taken care of and the wounded and all this. And he just looks at it and he just shakes his head and just stares at the despair and the just the whole situation. He just takes it in.
Hawk gets done massaging the bottom of his feet, and he finally stands with a groan. And the three of you can actually hear the snap, crackle, pop of his spine, and he just goes, "Oh yeah!" Stretches, and he looks over at Shihan. You're now nursing that bad leg of yours, and he says, "Shihan, you want something to eat?"
Yeah.
No, yeah, of course. There's a bear shit in the woods. Shut up. He just walks off.
Shihan, she's shucking off his leg wraps as well, just to get the old water-soaked cloth off of his skin, revealing the pale, wrinkled skin beneath that's just been waterlogged over the same night, and of course that making that one leg worse. He pulls his boots off and pours a bit of water onto the ground, and he just puts his feet on the ground with a little bit of grass there and dirt, and just digs his toes in and releases a sigh of just contentment, feeling that on his bare feet. And he sits back and smells the food and listens to the activity around him for a few moments.
As Hawk leaves you to join the line of troopers, he walks past a table that's got a bunch of bowls on it, a bunch of mugs, and he picks up 3 bowls, stacks them in his left hand, and gets a few spoons. And Shihan will see Hawk's got 3 arrows sticking out of him. In his armor and in him, he's got one just above his left shoulder blade in the meat of things, one that is sticking out of the back of his shoulder that's kind of found like a gap between part of the bronze plates that are riveted to his jacket, and he has one that is sticking out of what looks to be where his spleen is, and he's just walking. He's limping, but he's standing in line, bloody mess, with 3 bolts sticking in him.
Shihan looks up at Blogveer, just shakes his head. He says, "I don't know how that man's still walking. And now I feel bad."
Huh. Nah, he's just a show off.
Yeah.
He's too angry to die.
I think so. Yeah. Shihan reaches down and massages his leg a little bit more, just feeling around the soreness there. And well, if he can walk, then he can definitely walk. I'll wait for him here.
Agreed. And Blogveer will take off his sabatons and lay his armor down, peel off his moccasins and lay him over like a stump or a log.
Ugly slurp sound.
Yeah. And the smell is probably just lovely, that nasty ogre funk. And he's too exhausted to move or anything, so if there's no like water or anything in the immediate vicinity, he'll just spit on his sword and begin cleaning off the dried muck the best he can, just to pass the time, as his feet just start throbbing and like his feet are swollen. He doesn't know if he'll be able to get his moccasins back on without tearing them at some point, how swollen his feet are. So that's what he's doing while he waits.
There, you wipe some grime from your sword, and 3 of the runes that still remain in the blade, they still glow with a faint light. The Dwemer is still there, which astonishingly has seen now after all of this abuse here. Just wow, troll magic, I suppose.
Yeah, seeing this, Blogbeer smiles. He feels like a safety, like a mother's embrace, like a nice warm hug. Like he feels this, and seeing these rooms light up, he he kind of looks at what he was doing with disgust. Like, what? No, this sword deserves the attention. So he will get his feet. He will get them underneath him solidly. He will lift his body up, creaking everything, and he will look for some water and a rag. He knows that he probably won't be able to find a whetstone, but he needs to clean the blade. This blade deserves to be taken care of properly.
Oh, there's a whetstone nearby. You guys are kind of in a hospital tent / storage pit of just bloody garbage, and you do find somebody's whetstone.
So, despite all of this, Blogbeer still has that honorable ogre sense, that soldier sense, and he just grits through the pain. He just grits and teeth and bear it. He will walk over there and get the some water and the whetstone and a rag to wipe the muck off, and he will begin servicing the blade as it deserves.
By this time, and to your astonishment, that ogre maiden is servicing that line of troopers with an efficiency that it's hasn't taken her very long to get through that line of 40 guys. But Hawk is there, and she sees the arrow sticking out of Hawk, and she drops her knife, her carving knife, and she says, "You've got arrows sticking out of you. Why are you in line? Why are you not?" And Hawk, who cannot be reasoned with in times like this, is still ramrod upright posture. He goes, "I will be having this boar, and I will not be trifled with, woman. When you feed my lads," and he nods, he points over to you guys with his chin, "if you feed myself and my companions, then you can put your hands on me in whatever fashion that you desire. But right now, I want some of this pig." And to the astonishment of everyone here, he's trying so hard to keep his composure and his demeanor, and trying to put on a brave face for the rest of you, but and also trying to impress Carnage. I mean, why? How could you not? But she gives him an extra scoop of stew for any of these 3 bowls. He comes back over to the 3 of you, and he brings food. And he waits for a few moments. This ogre maiden begins to be servicing his wounds, and he may or may not be enjoying this a little too much. Hawk likes big girls, let's put it that way. It may or may not be the reason why he was after Kaya so long ago. Hey.
I mean, who doesn't, right? Big girls make the world go round.
Yeah, he likes thick girls. Oh, yeah. And if there's any thick girls watching this, oh my God, you're perfect. You're fantastic. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Call me. Call me.
Grant's contact information will be in the description of this video.
we'll send a link to it. Yeah, all my information, all my social platforms, my address, blood type, everything.
And his astronomical sign for those who like star signs. Anyway, back in character, ladies and gentlemen. Shihan, take us away.
So as Shihan is watching Blogger get to do this, he's looking at this stew, expectantly and mouth watering. He still has got an eye out because, Logbeer's found himself whetstone, and he's thinking to himself, maybe I can get my hands on a bow and some arrows here and be useful again. He's stripping everything down to that he can. He shuts out of his armor. Once that weight is off his shoulders, he breathes a sigh of relief because every ache and pain just seems to get a little bit less. Although his side is still very, very painful. And he'll actually get up and make his way over toward Hawk, meeting him halfway for the food. And he'll thank him and say, "You need to sit down, my friend, and we need to look over you thoroughly. Do you know you do have arrows in you, don't you? You know that, right?"
He kind of turns around. He's like, "Where?" As he sees the fletching out of one, he goes. He kind of lifts up his left arm to see that there's the bloody red fletching of a goblin arrow. He goes, "Oh, I wonder how that got there."
Most likely, a goblin was fairly accurately shot. That's generally how they get there.
I don't feel nothing.
Just here. He reaches out and takes two of the bowls and says, "Here, you come and sit and eat." And he'll lead him back over to the log or whatever it is we're sitting on and make sure he gets seated, hands Blog for his food, pulling his hand back quickly so he doesn't lose it. And then sits down, puts his own food down, and goes to inspect those wounds to see how bad these arrows are in this fellow, or if they were mostly in the armor or if they were mostly in him.
Make an awareness test.
Awareness. I can do that. Okay. 22.
The one that is in his spleen, or near to where his spleen is, has punched all the way through his armor and is in him. The one that is closest to his spinal column and his shoulder is also in him. And the one sticking out of his shoulder is, it's in him, but that's the shallowest of his wounds. The deepest one is near his spinal column.
Okay. I'll pluck the one out of his shoulder and
man. Oh, why? Oh.
Well, you can't walk around with this thing in your shoulder like that and look at the arrow and set it aside. You can use it later. Shihan says the other two are a bit deeper than that. I'll need to, after you eat, I'll need to get some assistance here, and we can get those out of you too and get you patched up. But I don't want to just rip them out because I don't know if they're barbed or not.
The one that you pulled out was barbed.
Most likely they're like this one. I hold up in front of him and show him.
He just glowers at you and the arrowhead because it's kind of a wicked man-slaying broadhead there. And he calls over to the priest Veer, and he says, "Priest Veer, bring the wine. Keep it coming."
I nod and yes, keep it coming. And Jihan will sit down and start eagerly devouring the stew that he has in front of him because he needs it as well.
That ogre maiden comes over, and she's very gentle, very ginger, and very handsy with him. And he kind of like smacks her hands away, like, "Woman, leave! I'm in pain and bloody. Be gone." No, and he just, if you wish to be helpful, just bring me some wine, bring me some mead, something to drink. This is going to be quite painful.
I look up at her and say, "The more potent, the better."
And she she looks at his wounds. She frowns and she goes, "I'll bring him something." Hawk shoots a look over at Blogveer, and he shoots a look over at this ogre maiden as she leaves the tent, and he just kind of smirks. You know what he's thinking.
Blogger just looks at him. He's slurping this stew down, and he'll just lower the bowl, and he'll have some in his beard, and he will look at his beard, and he will look at his beard, still covered in blood and muck and everything, and he'll just look at the ogre maiden, look back at him, and he'll just nod to him, and then he'll keep slurping down that stew, just deadpan looking at him. Yeah, gotcha, bro.
Yep. A few minutes later, she brings a few barrels of whatever mulled wine that the Arboreans here specialize in, and he starts drinking as if it is his last night on this earth, and he doesn't want to feel anything, but he's likely going to be feeling all of it.
Yeah, Shihan will reach over and hold his hand at the blog for a second. I borrow that whetstone for a moment.
Blogveer will finish slurping a little bit of the stew, sit down, I'll reach over and hand the whetstone to Shihan, still munching on his stew, and he'll just eagerly put back up there, start shoveling back in his mouth.
And Shihan will pull out the babushka knife that he's carried around for so long and begin to hone it to hopefully a razor sharpness to make the pain that much less. He knows he's going to have to cut these things out of.
So I'm not going to have Hawk roll any conditioning. He's just going to allow himself to get rip-roaring intoxicated, and they find him a table or a bench that he can lay down on, that lay face down on, and just have his arms dangle to the floor. Give you guys a flat space to work on, and Veer is there with some surgical tools, primitive surgical tools, but surgical tools nonetheless. And there's another team of would-be doctors there to work on him, and it's going to take them some time for them to remove these bolts without killing him. They'll be there for a good 2 hours. What do you guys do in this time period here?
Well, after I go through the line again for more food, I'm sure Blogger does too, just because we're probably completely utterly starving. I'm going to sit down and say we need to form a plan about how we need to get this thing done. We need to find Endukagga. We need to go get him, and we need to remove him from this world.
Well, that means we're going to have to meet up with the king and his regiment. I'm sure Endukagga is deeper in enemy lines.
He would not be at the forefront, but I do get a feeling that this thing is coming to a head, and if we don't stop him soon, we will never stop him.
Agreed.
So after wolfing down the rest of that stew, and while Hawk is getting tended to, I'm going to get up with Blogveer and see if we can go find the king, have a conversation with him.
Last you heard about the king, he's in the thick of whatever skirmishes are going on across the river. He's several hours away.
Oh, and I guess we're not going to be doing that. Maybe our best bet then is to get ourselves a bit of rest for one more night and take this out in the morning.
Yeah, Blogveer is going to strip his armor off and begin cleaning it, washing it, and he's going to wash himself. And afterwards, he's probably just going to find somewhere to throw down his weight and just pass out.
And Shihan's going to do that, and he'll be doing his. He'll do a bit of religion, sitting down and doing some praying for guidance and for strength for the next day, and for actually he's also going to go see if he can get the healers and see if there's any more poultices he could possibly get his hands on to help him and Blogbeard heal a little bit faster, possibly. Just get a little bit better off than they are.
The best you can do, well, you guys have been tended to the best you can currently. All you need is just light rest in a few days and to recover.
Okay.
Hawk's spirit modifier is 3, so you will be getting, for those of you who are tended by Hawk, you will get 1 plus his modifier for every day of light activity.
So at that point, we've had 4 back. So okay, I was at 4. Yeah, 3. I can get back up to full capacity in about 3 days, I think. Blogger, what do you think about you? It might take you a bit longer.
Yeah, it will be some time for me to be at full hale and hearty. But I should be able to be within decent fighting stock in a couple of days as well.
Okay. Let's make it 4 then. 4 days, then we'll set out on this quest to deal with Endukagga and end this.
From his face down on this bench, Hawk will just lazily slurring his words, going, "I won't be leaving without me."
I look at a Blogbeer and say, I guess we'll have to carry him then.
Nonsense! I'll
He's
walk on my own 2 feet, carnage willing.
Yeah, Blogger just nodded. He's a priest of carnage. No one will baby him.
As you wish. So I guess for the next about 4 days, we'll just basically be tending to our wounds and trying to resupply our equipment so that we have some basic things to deal with. I'll be looking for a brace of arrows and a bow, and at one point I'll be looking for Corwin and let him know that I think he's going to be the new owner of that sword. There's something just tells me that sword belongs at his side, not at mine, and that its story will go forward with him now instead of me. And he'll look for a bronze sword that will be suitable.
So you're giving him the Fey Iron one?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. All right. As you have 4 days of downtime at this point, you guys can, you guys have the floor. You describe for us what you do over the next 4 days. And I will, let me gather some notes here. You have the con.
Blogveer is going to take it easy, most of the time, but he's not going to lay about and just, eat all the food and not contribute. So he's going to help with maybe the arms and armor, making sure everybody gets what they need, supply the right troops with the right stuff, make sure that the supplies are good and everything, ask if anybody needs anything moved or lifted that he can help with. And he will also be dedicating a lot of time to Carnage, and he'll be spending a lot of time with the old priest and basically just centering himself and making peace with Carnage in case he does fall. And he was just asking for a blessing and doing a lot of prayers and ceremony the next few days.
Shihan is going to spend his time helping tend to the wounded, um, going in, checking their, checking their wounds, putting some, possibly helping gathering herbs and such for some of the other healers to their pulses with and such. And one thing he will definitely be doing is, especially in the evenings, he'll be basically going in there and singing for them, singing songs that hopefully will soothe them and make them forget for a moment that their pain and their wounds, and think back to better days. And then he'll rise and go out and he'll perform the rites that he's learned over the past bit of time, um, praying to the silent monolith for strength and um, for guidance in his task that he has before him, to end this reign of terror that Endukagga has brought upon this land, and to restore the balance to things. And
On the evening of the second day, around about 10 o'clock, you actually do discover that they have a henge here dedicated to the Silent Monolith. One big standing stone. That's all they got, though.
then I will definitely be going and praying there and doing the proper rites and such like that to ask for guidance and for strength in coming days. And anyone else who wants to come and actually pray with me, I will definitely invite them along and lead them in the prayers and such.
There are a handful of local wardens here, two of which that will come and pray with you.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
more senior in the clergy than you, but they're more than happy to bring in another initiative.
Okay, I will definitely be seeking their guidance in this matter and learning what I can from them.
The night before you guys leave, so dawn on the fourth day. Are you actually leaving at dawn, or are you guys leaving at midday?
We should probably leave at dawn because it'll be a little bit easier for us to travel in the early morning. Maybe get past, start heading out to where the battle is and possibly beyond. Actually, yes. Heading out toward the battle, I suppose.
Okay.
Yes.
You've gotten word every evening that there has been minor to moderate skirmishes over the past 4.5 days, really. And the Arboreans, they have not sent word, but a portion of the bearded folk are joining the battle here. So we have two armies here now fighting, beating back these cultists, and there are rumors of the tribal lands to the south, as well as some of the Atlantean banners actually coming up from the south as well.
Look over at Blogveer as we're getting prepared to leave, and I say, I think I know where Endukagga will go. And I think you do too.
Well, let us hope we are right then.
That stronghold in the valley. I think that's where we'll find him.
If he has gained word of these new armies coming to reinforce us, he may well retreat.
I think we can possibly either get there before him or at least possibly catch him there without the full mass of his army to guard him. What do you think?
I don't see any course of action other than this one, so whatever happens, happens. We'll do it together.
We'll have to travel swiftly.
I'll try not to lag behind. I'll just smile.
Okay, and with that, we'll hitch up our newly found equipment we have and just head towards the valley.
That evening, the night before you guys leave. Well, hang on here. Sorry about that. Now, yeah, no, the evening before you guys leave, Hawk will steal his way into that ogre maiden's tent on the edge of the village, and well, you guys know what'll happen. I won't go into great details, but he comes out of that tent as soon as you guys are getting ready for bed. As you guys are going late, he walks into your guys' hovel with his tunic thrown over his forearm. He's shirtless. His pantaloons are like untied in front, and he is barefoot and covered in sweat. And he goes, "Gentlemen, if we die, everything will be all right." With this stupid grin on his face, and he goes and lays down with this happy sigh.
Blockville just laughed, just a big belly laugh as he's laying down, because he was already laying down, and then as Hawk walked in, he just looked up at him, and he just laid back down as he listened to this, and he just laughed, big belly laughed.
He points an accusatorial finger at Blockville, and he goes, "You know exactly, my friend."
And I just keep laughing. Just a big booming baritone laugh. Just, oh, like, get some rest. You need it.
I don't know. I feel like I'm taller than you, Blockbear.
Good. We're gonna need that tomorrow. Save it for the enemy.
I see songs in the not too distant future of ogre-sized Arboreans running about these parts.
Oh yes, many half ogre children. Yes. He just he puts his hands behind his head and just lays there looking at the stars. Oh yes. You drift off to sleep, and you wake up before the cockerel crows that next morning, and slip away past the sentries, across the river, through that barricade, and off back again into the Suncrest Valley. By the time the sun does come up, where are you?
Well, let me do a traveling check and I'll tell you real quick.
And do not get us lost again, Keith.
We're back in the Fey realm, right? You know, just chilling.
How do we get back to the Atlantean lands?
How did we miss these people?
Is that the ocean?
Oh my god.
17. So.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. We didn't miss anybody. You're on the northernmost edge of the Suncrest Valley. Coming down the hill, there's just a sea of banners and tents. Part of the valley has kind of been cleared due to fire, battle. It's normally, last time you were here, the valley was actually quite picturesque and beautiful. Yeah, it's not like that anymore. not anywhere close. Interestingly enough, however, there is quite a few banners and stouter, more heavily bearded individuals off to the it would be the western wall of the valley, as the bearded folk have taken up there. So you've got kind of a two-piece northern front there, and you see a handful of skirmishes down deeper into the valley, closer to the those heavier thickets and pine tree forests. Those are still maybe a handful of hours south of you, but if you go at the clip that you're going at, you'll get there in no time.
So yes, maintain that clip, but at the same time, we're keeping our eyes open for ambushes. So making sure none of these cultists and such might be hiding in our along the sides of the path and such. And of course, we're following not like the main path, but staying just off of it.
Okay. You make it to the Arborean forward camp without any trouble.
Okay. Just go in there and, of course, obviously let the sentries know we're coming, of course, and let them know that we're looking for the either commander or the king himself if he's available. We have some news for him.
You are dealt with maybe in a little too rough of a fashion, but you are escorted to the king's tent. The king, Fulgurith, known as the Giant Killer himself, surprisingly, he's a very young king, or young-looking king. His beard is not nearly as long or as invoking the wise experience of a high king, but however, he does have an air of confidence about him. Clearly, there is a young lion in that man that knows what he is here for, and this battle is certainly what we play this game for. And he looks upon the two of you, and he nods. Red Blade, Bloodletter, finally for you to show up. I've heard quite a bit about you.
Oh, I hope it's mostly good.
Oh, it's all terrible things, gentlemen, I will assure you.
Shihan will bow to him as only appropriate for the king, and we have a plan we would like to discuss with you.
There's quite a bit of planning. Pull up a seat.
Mm-hmm. We'll do just that. Pull up a seat. Take his. Well, wait for the king to sit first, and then he'll sit. It says we have a plan to make our way behind the enemy lines and to lop off the head of the beast, if you will.
That'll be hard pressed for us to do. He now controls the fog giants and many of the goblin and troll men, as well as the full troll tribes.
I believe if we can take him out, those other factions and such will not have the cohesion they need to put up a unified defense. They're as likely to fight each other as they are us.
No, you misunderstand me. It will be hard getting there. Because they're dug in like a tick.
Well, if we can possibly have a diversion somewhere, an attack that might, or if we know where you're going to attack, we can go the other side or other way and possibly get around. I have scouted this area before, and I believe there is a way into that stronghold he has where Blogberry here slew a couple of trolls not too long ago. They had a forward base there, and I believe a high path.
Everyone looks at Blogbear.
He did it.
Blubber looks around like, um, he does not lie. Obviously, I have his element here. She's like, "Oh, why is everybody looking at me?" Like, he speaks the truth.
Yes, he was a paragon of carnage that day. But I believe if we can make our way up to that where that occurred, we can possibly slip behind them and get among their rear ranks. Possibly taking a small force up there if possible, or just the three of us.
Are you going into that grotto that he's taken as his sanctuary? Is that what you mean?
We'll have to. That's the only place that, if that's where he is, then that is where we must go.
Because we've known where this place is for a handful of cycles now. It's just been something that we've stayed away from, but kept an eye on. He's now grown in strength to where he is indeed more than a nuisance.
Yes. Yes, that is where we need to go. Is into there, and we need to take his head, and end his aspirations for godhood. I assume.
Well, you two seem, well, the three of you. He glances over at Hawk, who's still acting like he's 20 feet tall. Um, he just shoots a smile up at Blogveer, and the king continues. If you're sure that you can see this done, then I would suggest you do it quickly, because we're going to be meeting them on the field off and on for the next several days until we indeed do wear them down. If you can do this, then he kind of just gives you a dismissive hand wave. If you can do this, do it. See if we can save as many lives here as possible. As he looks over at the High King of the Longbeards and their king, he just nods and says, "All right, lads, get yourself to it then."
That we will. So, and with that, we'll stand up, bow, and I'll take my leave. And once we're outside, well, Logveer, I think this is it.
Let's make it count then, right?
Yes. So just before we leave, Shihan will stop somewhere and go through, make sure all of his arrows are properly fletched, so nothing's going to fall apart at the last. Check his borrowed bronze sword, make sure its edges sharp, and pick up his spear, and he's going to leave anything that might slow him down that's not required for the mission. So any food, any spare baggage or anything like that needs to stay here. We need to travel with what we need to do this.
We are restricted to our character's everyday carry now.
Yes.
Yep.
Ooh,
Exactly.
fucking raw, gentlemen.
Yep.
All right. So Hawk, as you guys get to the edge of their camp, he says, "All right." He rubs his face. He goes, "One more time, just to clarify. We're going into that necromancer's godforsaken lair, and we're going to brutally murder him." He crosses his fingers. We're hoping to brutally murder him.
We'll do it twice if he comes back.
Oh, he just nods. He goes, "Well, of course, absolutely."
My blade will make sweet love to his neck as he wishes to be,
Nevertheless, If we fail, the armies are still going to move in and mop up the rest of them.
Hopefully.
Yes. But we'll hopefully save lives. And I have a feeling that Endukagga is using this slaughter to his advantage in some way. I have a feeling. So the less,
Yeah.
Necromancers deal with the dead. Of
yes,
course, the more dead there is around, the more that he adds to his already seemingly all-encompassing army.
Agreed. The last
so
thing we need is an army of the dead rising up to ambush the king and his army.
yes, so if we can end this now, end this quickly, there'll be less forces for him to throw against these people, and well, hopefully those ones that he has raised. I'm not sure how that works, but maybe they'll fall with him or at least lose their direction.
Most importantly, we have to hope that cutting the head off this serpent will make sure the Reaper King can go about his business in peace. Because if this balance is not restored, then it doesn't matter how many people are lost, it'll be all for nothing.
True.
Either way, he's going to die. He will die, either by our hands or by the king's hands. However, if we do it, we save thousands of lives. If we fail, the armies, and he crosses his fingers, that we hope that they succeed, but many will perish in the process.
Yes, and if we fall in this, well, at least there'll be songs sung about us going far into the future. Maybe in the afterlife, we'll hear them sung and smile.
If they take us down, we're going to take all of them with us. Enough to let the armies have a better chance. If we fail, but we're not going to fail, are we, lads?
No.
Oh no, of course not. Hawk just kind of like gently pushes Blogfear on the hip. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. No, we will never fail. No.
Regardless, it has been an honor serving with both of you. No matter what happens or what may come, you are my brothers.
It has, brother, even though you drink the most horrendous things.
I cannot help it if your fey palate is deformed.
It is an uncivilized palate.
Indeed.
Palate is more than blood.
It says the Carnage worshiper to the Fae. Oh, excuse. Well, let's be off, gentlemen. Let's be off.
And off we travel.
And you guys trudge off into that primordial wilderness that's half wasteland, half battlefield, really. Through the scrub, and there's a handful of skirmishes that you're able to slip by, and the farther and farther into this valley, the more haunting this place becomes. You see ghosts in the trees. There are skeletons and zombies in the underbrush fighting the living. It's not a pretty sight. And you pass by yet again that haunting but familiar sight, that tomb, Ghost Owl's tomb. As you see on the bank of this lake, as you pass by, there's a line of spectral wardens, that entire sect there from thousands of cycles ago. And these wardens are indeed dressed for war, even in the afterlife. Do you stop at all, or do you press on?
At that site, I will definitely stop. And I'll go to before their line, take a knee in the dirt, and say, I go to free you all.
You see the Archwarden, Ghost Owl, standing off to the side. And all he does is give you a haunting, incredibly unsettling nod. And it's just silent here. There's no bugs, there's no wind, there's no bird song. It's just a horde of ghosts.
Shihan pulls out his knife, and he nicks his forearm so that he draws a bit of blood and lets it drop to the earth. And he says, if I do not live through this action, please accept me among your ranks, though I barely deserve to be called one of you. But I will go out honoring your history and your traditions.
There is this death echo. There's a captain steps out from this line, and he shouts something on the other side of the veil. It's almost like you're outside, and there's like a sliding glass door, and someone shouts from inside a building. You feel the energy, you see his body language, but he's just so far away in another plane, another place of existence. And the entire line starts marching forward. It meets you, and these people, these apparitions, disappear amongst you. Blogveer and Hawk have a chilling sensation run up and down their spines as these wardens pass through you.
And with that, Shihan will stand, turn, and start marching towards his destiny.
Blogveer will follow his friend, giving a shiver as the events unfolded. As his hairs on the back of his neck are all at standing at attention, and he will follow his friend with determination.
You continue. Just a couple more hours on that road. I mean, a handful of hours before dusk. You're on a ridge that looks down onto this crag that's, like, it's a great stone that's kind of been split in two that kind of creates this like half V check mark kind of shape, and there's a kind of a gravel dirt walkway that's kind of been tramped down that goes between these two stones and deep down into the earth. There are two purple banners that have some kind of heraldry that you're not familiar with, maybe runes or what have you, but it looks like a slitted eye that's got kind of like a cat's eye slit. But it's vertical, not horizontal, so it looks weird and odd. There's not a soul outside. It's just gray and quiet here.
It's almost like they're inviting us in.
I don't like it.
To say that, Hawk says.
I don't like it either, but let's press forward. And with that, Shihan's going to try to be a little sneaky. More than sneaky. That's going to be a 31 on stealth.
Wow. Well done.
And he'll take point to go into this area. sort of scouted out as his friends come behind him.
All right, here, give me a second. I'm getting a map for us. All right. And here's where our raid level, extinction level event comes in, our raid encounter for the campaign. Well done, gentlemen, for surviving this long. Fantastic. Now, you enter this grotto, and a fetid, chilling, stinking wind wafts out between these two cleft stones. You continue deep down to the darkness, and there's a point where the torches are indeed lit here. There are signs of battle. There are corpses and well-rotted skeletons that have been picked clean by the crows that are brave enough to come down here and pick at the dead. This first area here sharply turns left, sharply turns right again, kind of creating this zigzag pattern that almost disorients you as these stairways go down into the earth. And it's becomes apparent to you that this was once a mine of some kind, be it gold, tin, copper, or what have you. That first area opens up, and there are the walls are cut stone. The floor is tiled. Clearly, this is new stonework, as the stone is not weathered in any way. But hanging from the walls are sconces with blue fire. Clearly, there are some witches here that are able to cast some sort of witch fire here. How do you proceed?
Once I come to that point, I'll creep back to Blogbeer and Hawk and let them know what's up ahead. That the way seems to be clear, though it's lit by witch fire. So be aware that there may be a trap, and I suggest staying near the walls. Then he moves back down again and falls on his vice and hugs the walls, staying out of the center of the place. His bow half drawn, arrow nocked.
Blogver will follow suit with his sword in hand.
Hawk lost his long-hafted axe sometime in the battle, and he's taken a bronze greatsword with him at this point, befitting his size. And he draws the thing. It's prodigious length, and he rests it on his shoulder as he kind of like half crouches near the wall. He takes your orders kind of with this grim seriousness. You advance down this causeway a good 40 feet as two individuals in burial shrouds walk out from behind, or excuse me, from kind of an adjoining hallway, kind of with a start, and one of them utters something, and the bastard is trying to cast a spell. You guys can make your reactions known.
$16 here.
I get an 18.
Ah, fantastic here. So Keith, Shihan will go first, and
I'm below Blockbeer.
oh, excuse me. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, Blogveer will go first, and Shihan and the cultists will go on the same reaction. All right, Blogveer, go for it.
All right, Blogbear's going to try to make sure this guy doesn't cast a spell on us. He's going to swipe at him with his great sword. Oh, man.
Oh. Oh, no. Okay. This could be really good or bad.
That is 19 on the first attack because he has 3 attacks.
The first attack does not hit.
Oh, crackers. All right, so I swipe at him, and he just, as he's continuing his incantation, he just like, bitch, please, and he just like barely moves out of the way, and I'm don't miss a beat, and I come with another swipe. Okay.
Get him.
That is a 21 on the second.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, you caught him with that one.
Okay, I got one more. Let's see if this one can. Oof.
Uh-oh.
That is a 10 on that one, so I only hit him one time.
Yeah, so yeah, you only hit him once. You can go ahead and roll damage. Send it.
Okay. Ooh, that's an 8. Okay. That's 22 on damage.
Wow.
with Trollbane.
Oh shit! Did you use your narrator die with that or no?
I did not. It exploded.
Oh Jesus!
I still haven't used my narrator die yet.
Okay. So that is going to completely shut him out. Go ahead and describe for us how you completely brutalize him. He's a human. He is clearly one of the magicians of this cult. He's a necromancer.
So my first swipe misses, and I come downward, and he dodges, and I miss, and so I bring it upwards like this, and I gash him from basically from the groin just up, and a nice diagonal slash. And as I come to hit him the third time, he stumbles back from the blow, and I miscalculate, and I hit the floor where he did stand. And
make a durability test for Trollbane.
That's bronze, so it's just a
Yeah.
Oof.
And you did clean it, so you should have gotten some of that durability back.
Yes, I believe so. That's remind me durability again. I think bronze is just
bronze is +0, so
yeah.
Roll me 2d8.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I got it's a 7 on durability.
Okay, so it's going to lose 2 of its durability. Bronze has 4 durability total. So you can describe for us how, like, what actually happens to the sword.
All right, so when I missed,
it doesn't break. I will tell you that much.
When I missed the third strike, I brought it down pretty hard on this this new floor basically, and it did crack the floor, but it also sent a small crack, a small fracture, about maybe a half an inch of a fracture through the tip of the blade there, and so it kind of shit, what's the word? Anyways, it kind of the infrastructure of it is kind of vulnerable now. That this small fracture is through the tip.
That will be a -2 to damage until you get that mended.
Alrighty.
So yeah, you completely destroy him. since the cultist and Blogveer are, or excuse me, the cultist and Shihan are going to go on the same initiative. He is finishing up a spell. What are you doing?
I am going to try to put an arrow into the guy. So
Go for it. Oh shit! Okay.
20.
Oh, 20. Oh shit. Okay, yes. Send it.
All
He
right.
got 8 and a 1 so on his defense. He is not
Okay.
paying attention to you whatsoever.
Yeah. And Shihan does have a second attack. I'll go into the damage for this one real quick.
Do it. Do it.
Oh, 8. 13 total. And then second attack coming at him. Hmm. It's going to be an 18 for the second attack.
Oh, let's see here. Okay, the first attack lands, the second attack does not.
All right. So, but the question is, does it disrupt his spell casting at all?
He is going to make an occult insight. And shit, he's actually going to make it. So no, it does not disrupt his spell. But however, where does that arrow land?
The arrow, I was trying to put it in his face, but I'm assuming he moved off a bit and it hit him just below the collarbone.
Okay, it's enough to hurt, but yeah, he's not going to lose the spell. Blogveer is going to burst into a column of kind of like this purple black fire that oh shit is actually going to do a big fat 12 points of damage, negative energy damage. Go ahead and make a spell defense test. I want to see if you can actually either take that or not at all.
So that is a 22 on magic defense.
Oh, really? Oh, son of a bitch. Yeah, you don't take any of that damage.
But I still get engulfed in the flame, so instinctively Blogveer just he lets out a scream. I mean, if you're covered in a column of flames, he's like, "Ah!" And then he realizes he's not burning, and kind of regains his composure a little bit.
So the spell connects. He's engulfed with it, but it immediately dispels. So, oh shit. And Hawk's gonna go last. Well, Hawk's not in range, but he's going to attempt to run forward and attack with a big old 14 on his die for an attack. Let's see that defense, and oh shit, he actually beats him by 1. With 7 vitality damage to the necromancer. Blogveer is back up.
Well, he's going to try to do his trademark kill the cultist, so I'm going to attack him with my sword.
Get him.
All right. Oof. First attack is a 15 on the first attack.
Ooh, he actually crits on his defense, so
Oof.
he... we have no idea what he does, but it is beautiful and nimble what he does to get out of the way of that attack. So...
Do I roll the other 2 attacks, or does this just negate all my attacks? He just dodges it like a ballerina.
Yeah, he basically ballerinas out of the way all 3 of your attacks.
I'm just looking at this, but I'm assuming it's decrepit old freaking necromancer with just awe at the grace that he is just dodging the fuck out of me.
Nah, dude, he's young and quite nimble. So you may or may not be dealing with rather a fleet of foot fighter here. That cultist is going to try and hit you with the same spell. Go ahead and make a spell defense test once more. What's his spell defense modifier?
He has 12 magic defense.
Oh my god, okay.
And I rolled 1/8 and exploded.
Oh my god. God damn it. Yeah, these guys are...
That's 31 on magic defense.
Oh, you suck. There's nothing that these 4th level necromancers are going to be able to do to actually get through that spell defense.
I mean, it pays to have such low sight, and you just have to just pump up magic defense. That's all Plugbeard can do. He's no magician. He's like, if I can't hurt him with magic, I'm going to make sure they can't hurt me with magic.
All right, Shihan's up.
I'll try to put some arrows in this fellow again. So. Okay. That is going to be a 15 on the first one.
You might... Nah, yeah, that's going to get through.
Okay. I'll go and roll the second one too real quick. That's also going to be 15.
Roll damage for the first attack.
All right. 4.
Yeah, that's gonna get rid of him. He's done.
Okay, in that case, he'll in this case the fellow will take an arrow to the throat at this point as soon as he finishes his spell against Blogveer, and take him down as he chokes his last.
Yeah, that the arrow appears in his throat. He gurgles and then collapses. Took all of maybe about 24 seconds there. But again, it's silent.
Yep. And I go over and grab the bodies and drag them back up toward the entrance, so they're not just laying there in the middle of the floor for someone to walk across. And retrieve my arrows. And is there anything on these bodies that might be of interest or use, like any kind of a seal or anything like that?
It's that would be up to you if you want to dedicate that amount of time to searching them. But
yeah, just real quick, if there's anything obvious laying there. I don't know if
nothing obvious besides
the
fact that they're wearing burial shrouds.
Okay. I look over at Hawk and I say, I have an idea. Now I start pulling the clothes off the barrel shroud off of one of them. And I'm going to throw it over my clothing.
Why?
Well, if someone happens to confront us, we can just say we're escorting a prisoner to Endukagga.
A completely well-armed and armored prisoner? Yes, that will work, Shihan. Yes.
Well, okay, fine. And that was the brightest person in the morning. Went, okay, fine. He tosses the stops trying to pull the shroud off the guy and says, okay, let's just kill people. So, all right, and
we left a bloody mess, you dragging them outside here.
True, but I mean, do you want to clean it up or,
Now we're wasting valuable time here.
Good point. Let's go inside. So Shihan takes his heads back in and heads around that corner stealthily.
There's about 8 steps that go up onto kind of a raised hallway. This hallway is now a good 40 feet wide, and there are 3 doors, 6 total, 3 on each side. Mm-hmm. You see a semi-collapsed tunnel at the end of this hallway. You can still get through, but 2 of the pillars are collapsed in. There's a space there just big enough for Blogveer to make it through. But these 3 doorways there are no actual doors; they're just archways that kind of descend kind of into whatever rooms or hallways beyond. Just darkness there. Okay. Clearly, these necromancers have no respect for torchlight.
They must see through some arcane art of their own. Shihan will sneak up and peer around to one on the right, the first one, and see if he can see anything inside.
That one looks like it was a sleeping quarters of some kind.
Okay.
There's a
no
bunch
one
of
there.
beds. No, you don't see anybody in there.
Okay.
But it's quite dark.
Yeah. Move across to the other side and do the same. Look into that one.
It is an identical room.
Okay. In that case, wave them forward and move to the next set of doors. Peek inside. You there, Ray?
Yep, sorry about that. I didn't realize my mic was muted, but this room is kind of an open, steady area. There's a handful of open circles, maybe like scrying or ritual circles with dimly lit candles, stacks of books, parchments, all that sort of thing, kind of scattered about the area. No one is here either.
Okay. Opposite side, look at that one.
That, however, is a room that's actually inhabited by what looks to be a handful of grim-looking figures in ratty clothes, and there is more blue witch fire light coming around a kind of a left-hand tunnel looking into the room. It looks like it curves off to the left. There's not enough light in there to illuminate these individuals, however.
I hold my hand up. It's a motion for them to stop behind me. And can I get a guesstimate of the number of people? Is like half a dozen, a dozen?
There are a dozen individuals in this room, and they're just milling around in the darkness.
Okay. I'll hold up my fingers, my fingers spread out twice. Basically, open my hand, close my fist, open my hand, close my fist, and hold up two. And I'll point into the room. I'll
Bluffer just shrugs, like, you want to take him? He's like,
he'll try to, Shihan will try to dart across the door to the opposite side. See if he can get by without being noticed.
Okay.
Be a 24 for a stealth.
Actually, let's see here. You said a 20?
24.
24. Oh, okay. Yep. No, you make it to the other side.
Okay. And then I'll look in and sort of see if they've noticed, and I'll motion for them to come by and move past. See what happens.
Blockberry just gives you that you fucking know what you're doing. Look, like like you know what you're asking. Okay.
Shihan shrugged.
Oh, well, that might help because that's 8.
That's
another 8.
Attempt stealth.
He's trying to sneak. So, that's a 24 total on two dice exploded. This is the best he's gonna get on stealth. That's even with his negatives to it. So if he doesn't make it here, Blockveer, this is like, holy shit, it's the pinnacle of my skill as
I'm a goddamn ninja now.
Literally, he's like a shinobi. He's just gonna he is he expected to alert the entire place, but as he's going by, he's like, "Holy fuck, dude!"
His armor was just well padded down and nothing was clinking. That's
I guess that's a good thing he cleaned it because he was expecting to alert everything. I mean, he still might. He don't know, but to him, he's like, "Damn, I'm doing a good job."
as you're kind of like tiptoeing, the bulldozer tiptoeing across the doorway. Make an awareness test here.
Oh shit. Okay. So that is a 23 on awareness.
As you meet Shihan on the other end of the archway, you catch out of the corner of your eye these individuals in this dark room. They look up, and you see that their eyes are glowing the same blue that's in the torches. And a couple of them groan and rasp something in whatever language that they possibly spoke in the afterlife, or say in the realm of the living. And they begin to shamble towards you.
I tried. That's the whole Bloodbeard says. I tried.
Pretty good too. Let's move. And at this point, stealth is not a thing we're even going to worry about. We just need to get I guess to check the next room, see what's in there real quick. Just sort of glance.
So they're shambling like slowly. They're like zombie like, or are they like?
It's actually methodical yet zombie like marching. They're not just stereotypical zombies or undead. There is some kind of like mechanical vigor, unnatural vigor to them that's making them move not nearly as fast as they did in life, but it's surprisingly nightmarishly fast. Now, am I understanding correctly that you actually want to check the next room and
just duck my head around the corner and look in as we're going by, basically, to see if there's anything else there, or if there's like maybe some side passage or a hallway or what?
There are 6 more of these individuals milling around in the darkness.
It's like, whoops, see that? Back up, 6 more. Is it a hallway or just a room there?
That one is a room that is adjoined by a hallway. You got to get through those 6 guys to get to the hallway beyond.
Okay. I'm like, well, if here's 6 over here or 12 over there.
Well, about to have 18 of them.
Well, let's hit these 6 for the other 12 match up to them. And Shihan steps out and is going to fire down toward those 6. So reaction rules, right?
All right, yeah, go for it. Reaction.
Oh shit.
Okay, let's do better this time. $19 for me.
26.
Oh, nice.
On reaction.
Wow. Okay. And sorry, what was Shihan?
19.
Okay, Shihan's got 19. Okay. And check the chat, guys. Okay. Oh Jesus. Okay. I'll say, just for the sake of rest and recuperation, Blogveer is he'll be I'll give him 36 vitality for what he's been through. All right, so okay. And let's see. Oh shit. Okay. Oh god, this is gonna suck. Okay. It's never a good sign when the game master just laughs and goes, "Oh no."
Yeah, this is gonna suck. Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing worse is, you're fucked basically. But
Yeah, right.
this is right below that.
Okay, so what we'll do, you guys are in the bowels of Endukagga's cult lair, the cult of the darkened face, and it is we'll actually end the session here, and we'll pick this back up after the holidays. We're gonna be on a cliffhanger for weeks. Oh god!
Oh, you cock tease. It's beautiful.
Okay, so let's have closing soliloquies in this moment of tension here. Be sure to play it up as much as possible. You are in currently a position, you are in the jaws of a pincer movement sandwiched between 12 undead on one side, 6 undead on the other, and you're going to be fighting back to back. What is Blogveer thinking in these times of desperation down here in the dark?
Blogveer, his first thought is, I have just doomed us all by my ogre physique. Damn me for not dabbling more in the arts of stealth. He thinks that right now he's in the bowels of just the underworld as far as he's concerned. It is just a hellish landscape, and he is beset by rotting corpses that he has brought upon his friends. He feels responsible for all of this, and he is confident in Hawk's ability, he's confident in Shihan's ability, and he's confident in his ability, but at the same time, the sheer number of the opponents, it is like the battle they were in. They're always outnumbered, but there were other people there to draw the attention. This time, it's just the three of them have the full attention of this horde of undead, and Blogveer knows that they're going to cut them down. He doesn't know if they'll be able to cut all of them down, and he doesn't know, even if they do cut all of them down, if they themselves will not be gravely wounded. But he grits his teeth, and he has his back to Shihan. He has Hawk at his side, and he has a determination. It's almost a battle calm, because he knows that Carnage is with him, and he knows that he's going to put these things back to where they belong. And even if they shall fall here, that at least the King's army will have to deal with a few less of these undead fiends. And as the first wave of these undead horde are shambling ever closer, he just thinks of Kaya, and in his mind he just, I'm sorry, I might not be able to make it home, Kaya. I love you. As he grits his teeth and readies for the assault.
What does he think of Carnage one last time?
He knows that no matter what, the lady will be appeased in this battle. She has already defended his spirit. He is strong with her. The necromancers could not hurt them with their foul fire magic, for the armor of Carnage has protected them. The gore and the blood of his enemies has an ethereal armor that shielded him from their attacks, and this confidence and his utter devotion to Lady Carnage will never falter. And he smiles through his gritted teeth, just a wicked smile of, he knows that she will be satiated. She was satiated in this battle. Undead blood is still blood, and the carnage that will ensue in this battle, whether they fall or not, will bring glory to Lady Carnage, and she will experience ecstasy. He will bring her pleasure, even if he dies doing it.
Beautifully done. What do we see of Shihan's mind in these moments of desperation before the undead come?
Shihan's seeing these abominations moving methodically toward him. Thinks to himself that it may feel like he is here with just his two companions, but he thinks back to that army of wardens walking in the same direction that he was, and knows that if not physically, spiritually, they are at his side, and that they are using him as the point of their spear. Um, here he is in the bowels of the earth, and literally embraced by his God, and he draws strength from that being all about him as he reaches over his back to pluck out one of his few special arrows he has left with the fey iron tip, and thinks to himself, maybe I should have waited to give Corwin that sword.
Beautiful. A brief soliloquy from Hawk here. He takes a high guard with his new sword, and he plants himself like a great oak tree, confident in the fact that Blogvir has turned to meet the horde behind them. Hawk stands over Shihan's right shoulder as he's pulling forth a fey arrow, and Hawk just waits patiently, kind of reveling in that battle calm, and he thinks of that ogre maiden that he had visited just those few short hours before, and he smiles and he says, I hope that I leave her something to remember me by in the next cycle. And he mutters aloud to his companions, gentlemen, if this be our last, it was a pleasure. I am happy that I have met you. And simultaneously, the three of you throw yourselves upon this undead horde, on either side, sandwiched between the dark, icy claws. And that is when the stage curtains will close. And we will be back after the holidays. Yes, I'm teasing you all, and I'm not sorry. You guys suck. You're gonna have to deal with it. So we will be back on the 8th of January. So the next week and the week after are Christmas and New Year's. So the next week will be the 8th of January. So hopefully until then you can be calm and also put off by this horrible cliffhanger. Good night, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in. We'll be back.
Happy holidays. See you guys next year.
Yep. Happy holidays. See you in 2020, everybody.
Good night, everybody.